Hello, beautiful soul, and welcome to the Little Reader's house. I'm the Little Reader, and you are in my house alongside this beautiful rainbow moonstone. It's been here before, it'll be here again, and it's just holding down the fort, anchoring in some good vibes as we channel in from the divine. Any source, any stream of light that can be filtered through this vessel, projected through this piece of technology, and land in your home or in your heart or in your space, however you're ready to receive it. That's the aim. In terms of today's topic, it's already coming through loud and clear before I even blooped the record button. It has been vigorously requested. It has been in the collective. It has been in my personal life. It is perhaps one of the greatest teachers. Well, they're all great. What can I say? We're not comparing. That's a mental judgment. It is a great teacher. And we will dive in with open hearts and see what comes through from spirit. The topic, which you already know because it's in the title, but I haven't said out loud yet, is addiction. Addiction. Just the weight of the word to channel is an experience. Every word has an energetic signature, has associations in the mental realm. Every word carries a piece of the individuals, the forms and minds that think about that word. So to channel the word addiction, so much comes up. So many perspectives, so many experiences, and yet there's a common thread through all of them. What I'm channeling, for those who are new to the house, is the white light of the divine. I source it from here, mine it from here, where it flows infinitely for as long as this person, this personality, that which you see before you, is alive. It can be pulled from this space. And the same is true for you. And I call it spirit. You can call it the divine, you can call it God, you can call it light, you can call it anything you want. You can label it intellectually, you can feel it emotionally, you can just witness it with neutrality. It may affect you in any number of ways, conscious or unconscious. But if you're here holding space with this transmission, you're sure to receive something. The first thing that Spirit wants me to make clear here is that this is not a solution-oriented transmission. So the purpose of this transmission from Spirit's perspective is not to solve or resolve addiction. It's not even to treat addiction. It's not to fix addiction. It isn't to get to the root of addiction. It's clear as day, as both a channeler and someone educated in the field of psychology, to identify emotional roots like grief, loneliness, frustration, overwhelm, stress, that are hitched on to addiction, that are connected to addiction. And there are resources all over the web, and very possibly, if you have access to this technology in your local community, for approaching addiction from the perspective of intellectual roots, the mind. How can we fix it? How can we label it? How can we solve it? How can we resolve it? Attack, attack, attack. That's not Spirit's aim for this transmission. Every habit that our minds judge as destructive offers beauty into the total tapestry of human life, of human existence, and beyond the human perspective. Frequently beyond, as the human perspective is currently so anchored in the mind. And I'm already seeing the links between the mind and addiction and how we label addiction and attempt to treat addiction. Spirit is making that very clear. And the more we attempt to meet addiction with solutions that are constructed here in the mental realm, the more difficulty we may have understanding it. Because a true understanding of addiction, or anything, is limited when it's just approached from the mind. To quantify, to label, to define, and then to construct formulas that resolve deficiencies or subtract excesses. It's so mathematical, it's so logical, it's so beautiful. There's such a role for that in this world. This is why we have so much of our technology. This is why we have so many things, so many objects, so many inanimate tools. But addiction is inanimate, not inanimate, an animate quality. And it is broader than the mind. This is Spirit's biggest push in this moment. Addiction is holistic. Here in the Little Reader's House, we talk about 3 realms, just the beginning of human experience, but fascinatingly so underexplored. We're constantly living in the mental realm, perceiving this experience through the mind, labels, judgments, good, bad, like, dislike. We talk about it at length in our other transmissions. But just like every other aspect of human existence, addiction doesn't just live in the mind. So to attempt to resolve it through the mind is limited. As usual, Spirit's taking us right down to our microphone, to the heart. And interestingly, with the link to the microphone, there's this place between the heart and the mind. The throat, communication, a place where truth is expressed. Or withheld, and it's relevant. Addiction is a pattern of behavior, and we've already established here in the house that to change any pattern of behavior, we witness. That's the step. We witness it. We witness it intently as it occurs. All patterns of behavior, any pattern of behavior. The approach of white-knuckling or willpowering or forcing, I just won't do it anymore. I just won't do it anymore. That's another pattern, a pattern of resistance. One pattern cannot overtake another pattern unless consciousness, a moment of awareness, being in a state of being that supersedes patterning. The perfect pattern interrupt, if you will, is introduced. So occasionally, we will see individuals living their lives in certain patterns. The universe introduces an element, pattern interrupt. It forces them to become conscious. It forces this individual to step out of the mind, perhaps even out of the heart, and perhaps even out of the form, into a witness perspective, to watch those three things. Watch them deeply. Witness them. And sometimes just a moment of that can shift patterns, can end cycles, can close down certain patterns and awaken others. This is how people change. But it's not predictable, according to Spirit. It's not mathematical. It's not mental. So this mental construct that there is a system, infallible system, that we can just apply like glue to every individual. Here, do this. That's going to solve everything for you. That's going to correct all your patterns, your addictions. That's a mental construct. That's a thought. That's an idea. It has no more truth or validity than any other thought or any other idea. If you choose to believe it, it's going to work differently on you than it would on your neighbor or on somebody else. Even the thoughts and ideas that we choose to cling to, anchor to, believe, work differently for every single individual depending on the patterns within them. So throwing around thoughts, facts, beliefs onto various individuals and saying, there it is, your solution, your objective truth. It may not produce the desired effect on that individual, no matter how objectively true or provable or reliable that fact or idea or belief is. Because every individual is a universe. And their unique alchemy of patterns, traumas, experiences, history that lives in the form, encoded, embedded in the third dimensional physicality that their light is submerged in, respond differently. Every individual is a universe. And that's the first part of understanding addiction. And a fundamental aspect of releasing our prescriptive approach. To Spirit, addictions are equal. Addictions are unconsciousness. Addictions are patterns. So to Spirit, any rote behavior that occurs without an element of the witness perspective, without an element of surrender, neutrality, and trust, consciousness, is what that's called in the spiritual community. These repetitive patterns are addictions. For us as humans, again, we tend to hyperfixate on the particularly destructive ones. Sexual addiction, drug addiction, or any substance, alcohol addiction, food addiction, pleasure addiction, trauma addiction, The list goes on. And perhaps the reason that we focus on those is because the ripple effects of destructive patterns affect more than just the individual who is embodying the pattern. So we become, quote unquote, solution oriented. Just fix it, change it, resolve it. I can't have this destruction affecting me. It's a beautiful way to look at our own relationship with inner peace. If the addiction of another can affect our inner peace. To spirit, addictions spell opportunity. All destruction spells opportunity to spirit. But that's such a, no offense, to spirit, 30,000 foot view that it's like getting punched in the face. At least for a human as a channeler, that's what that response feels like. Okay, great. So all the suffering and all the pain that everyone's experiencing is great. Great. How about I just exit stage left then? It's almost insulting. And Spirit fully recognizes that. Spirit fully recognizes that the majority of the human population does not identify as spirit. They don't identify as the white light that animates them. They identify as the temporal aspects, the body that will die, the mind that can think, and the heart that can feel. And when those things are gone, most of the human population believes that they are gone. So it's a very slim set of souls at this time, beautiful soul, who are relieved and at peace when they hear that destruction serves a beautiful purpose in the greater tapestry. Those individuals are identified as the light. Spirit's perspective is their perspective. So they have that ability to sit in surrender and say, okay then, okay, beautiful. But for those of us who are identified as the body, the form, the mind, and the heart, not helpful. Not helpful. Spirit's first urging would be an invitation then. Not an urge, but an ask, an offer. Might you be interested in adopting the perspective of identifying as spirit? Could you add a practice to your daily life where you practice shifting your identity away from the temporal into the eternal light to the point that you can feel it, merge with it, join with it, dance with it, where you can surrender and understand that only from that identity do we even have the ability to have control of any kind. That's the first invitation. Because if you can be moved into that journey of identifying as the light, of settling into this heart space where that light prompts this physical organ to beat and sustain this experience, everything shifts. And the need for intellectual understanding and processes begins to slip away. At least the need for external intellectual understanding and processes. They begin to appear through inspiration. It's all already there. And that's Spirit's first and foremost invitation. Become one with me. Start a practice of learning to merge with me. Identify as me. We are one. Let us join. And then we'll talk about your addiction or the addictions of others, which is another way of saying the patterns of myself or others. But what if we turn that away and we're like, practice this, insert obscene gesture. I want to be me, the little reader. Thank you very much. This body, this mind, this heart, okay? Don't give me that divinity crap. This is me. And I've got a problem. I've got some patterns, okay? And they're messing my shit up. Suppose that's our approach. Spirit applauds it. Spirit celebrates it. Spirit understands that there is very much a role for the fully immersed experience in which the divine totally invests in character identification. I'm not the player of the game. I am the character being played. It's a beautiful immersive experience. Chef's kiss. Until it starts to get unpleasant. But see, that's what happens when we identify as the character being played, not the player. We are subject to the patterns until we step into the player role, which I am associating with the witness, the divine, the animating life force that suspends and facilitates the entire game. As long as we resist that and we're like, no, me, you, if you even exist, bye. That's the light over there. Go away. As long as we're clinging to this, we are at the behest of the patterns that are preset, the road that is preordained for this character. The term "you can't have your cake and eat it too" arises here. Now, this is an infinite universe. That sounds like just another rule to me. What if you could have your cake and eat it too? What if you could be fully invested in your temporal identity? Amanda, the little reader, chick on the floor of her bedroom. Fleeting human experience. And divine. What would be the ingredient that would support such an experience? I'll give you a hint. It's what the world needs now. Love, sweet love. There is a happy medium, beautiful soul. And that's what Spirit's inviting us to do today, not to change. If we don't want to develop the practice, if we don't want to meet the divine within, Spirit is no judge. And yet, if we don't want to live in the unconsciousness of our addictions, our destructive patterns, which we can actively see, creating pain, there is a middle ground. We can embrace the character and the player. Perhaps we can alternate between the two perspectives. Perhaps it's the beginning of a practice. Perhaps not. But it takes love. And in this particular instance, it takes self-directed love. if that's not going to be a meditation practice, that it's going to be something else. It's going to be the spark of awakening. We don't have to do full-blown spiritual realization. We don't have to start calling ourselves God. We don't have to change religions or change a thing. It's more about looking at the actions, the behaviors, and the patterns of this form. Whether we call it I, or whether we call it the vehicle that I, the divine, am in. With love, with compassion, with grace. Pouring love into the heart. Pouring love into the self. Pouring love into the closest thing in our vicinity, which will always be, in this human experience, us. Home. Can I love it? Can I love it? And when it comes to patterns, maybe we can't witness them yet. Maybe we can't watch them. Maybe we're working up to that. But can we extend self-love and self-grace in the aftermath of an episode? And then if we can do it in the aftermath, can we begin to sneak it into the duration? And if we can begin to sneak it into the duration, extend self-love, self-compassion, and grace, even in a moment of destruction, we've slipped into the witness perspective without even knowing it. We're edging into consciousness. We're edging into awakening. Love, light, they're one and the same, beautiful soul. So practice or no practice, how can we seed the love? And in the moments where we're not in an addictive episode, how can we seed the love? Can we ask for help? Can we nourish the form? Can we nourish the mind? Can we pour love into the heart? Or look at whatever exists there with compassion. Look at what hasn't been looked at maybe for years. A destructive pattern wants to destroy. It wants to eliminate something. But a destructive pattern can't stand in the face of love, because it's no longer required. That which is loved doesn't need to be destroyed. You've got options, beautiful soul. So many options. You always have. And yet, Spirit asks me to convey to you that there is no pressure. Because the judgment of yourself, the judgment from others, and the judgment of others, all of which play intricate roles in addiction, are not the totality of Spirit looking at you. All that judgment is just a slim streak, tiny aspect of reality. When Spirit looks at you, every pattern, destructive or constructive. Spirit's not judging. Spirit's saying, oh look, it's me, being beautiful, contributing perfectly to the show, playing the role flawlessly. So your ask isn't, go fix yourself, which sounds a lot like another common phrase in the modern vernac. No, the ask is, can just for a second you see yourself? That's the light. And love yourself. That's the compassion. Just a percentage of the way I see and love you. And then the need to destroy and be destroyed evaporates. And wholeness enters the chat. You are so loved, wherever and however you find yourself. No change required. And interestingly, if you can find a way to enter that perspective and feel it, even just for a moment, that type of love can't even quantify the change it can create. That is where we are leaving it today, beautiful soul. It has been an honor and a privilege to hold space with you. I am sending you all of the love that I've got as a temporal being, as an eternal being, as a servant, and an aspect of the divine, in the hopes that you will feel it, even just for a second, about yourself. You're so very worthy of it. Always more, never less. Your love.